Good evening, everyone. The Preston County Board of Education is now in session. We do have a quorum present this evening with all 5 board members present. At this time, we'll pause for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance being read by Mrs. Hill.
Please join me in a moment of silence. And the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have no one that has signed up for public comment, so at this time, we are going to the approval of the minutes for June the 30th and July the 14th. Is everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes? Are there any noted corrections for the minutes of June 30th? If not, entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 30th as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. July 14th, special call meeting minutes. Everybody had an opportunity to review. Any corrections noted? Entertain a motion to approve the July 14th, 2022 special call meeting minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign. Hearing none, the motion of the minutes for this July 14th is approved. Dr. Peterson, are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening?
Madam Chairman, if it pleases the board, I've had to pull the public consulting group contract off consent, and I'm asking it to be placed as item E.2 due to above the 93,000 threshold. It would go up under student support,
And that was
the PCG contract, and we provided a copy at your table.
this time entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the adjustment of as presented.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. The agenda is approved for this evening. Dr. Peterson, administrative reports.
The first item we have for you, board members, is the school nursing contract, which is the SNFI agreement that we do with Preston County Health Department to provide additional nurses inside of our schools. And our part of that is $150,000, which is already allocated inside of our local budget. But at this time, we ask that you approve the contract as presented.
Any questions for Dr. Peterson? If not, entertain a motion to approve the school nursing service contract as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. The nurses contract is approved. Our ERMART contract.
This is one that we bring forth every year, and in years past, we have an agreement with ERMART through the RFP process we did 2 years ago, with our general contract agreement being $857,350.50. They contacted me a few weeks ago wanting to know if there was anything that we could do to possibly help out, as the state requires us to have $15 an hour this year, and we still have employees that are on our side that they reimburse us for. And so when in conversation with them, and as a result of ERMART adding square footage for cleaning of the bus garage and facilities, currently, or up until March, our own employees were our people that worked there were cleaning the toilets and whatnot, and I didn't realize that was not a part of the RFP. So as a result, they're asking if we could increase our agreement for additional $43,000 to cover the $15 increase and recruitment, as well as the additional square footage that they're currently cleaning. That would compose of 20 hours a week for cleaning of those spaces, along with their risk insurance and the supplies that goes with it, which will bring the total of that contract to $915,191.30. And staff recommends that we approve the amendment as presented.
Anyone have questions for the contract? This time, we entertain a motion to approve the ERMART custodial contract as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the ERMART contract is approved. Yes, code.
I guess I'm Dr. Anthony too. He's off celebrating, I think, an anniversary this weekend. So this is our annual SRO MOU contract. Melissa did a great job in presenting all the information inside of our MOU in a joint presentation or a joint training with not only the SROs but all of our administrators. And without any guidance from our board attorney, I would recommend that we approve the SRO MOU as presented.
Any questions? At this time, we entertain a motion to approve the SRO MOU contract as presented.
Move to approve SRO contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, SRO MOU is approved. On human resources, Mrs. Stacy. Staffing update.
All right. Before you have the staffing update, it has been a busy summer with hires, and so data so far on what have been hired. We have hired 16 classified staff, 31 certified staff, 28 staff transfers. We've had 4 classified staff transition into certified positions, and we've hired 2 international teachers. As far as vacancies, when I started working on the clear-cut classroom vacancies, it changes on how we're going to fill them. So I'll talk about that first. So we do have some vacancies across the district, which is of course very concerning. However, we have worked on several plans to cover. Because we do have the virtual school intact, we are working with Dr. Duncan, as well as, of course, Ms. Reagan, Ms. Honeycutt, Mr. Holmes, and Mrs. Warren are working together to cover sections with some of the virtual teachers being synchronous with some of the sections at the middle schools and high school not covered, to be able to provide students certified staff. We are also partnering, if approved, and that's going to be next, with Elevate K-12. It is a vendor that is nationwide. However, many districts in North Carolina are utilizing them as well. They have certified teachers that will be synchronous. If the contract is approved, we will fill 18 sections, which equates to 6 positions that are vacant. And what happens is we'll get into that in just a minute, that will meet many of our vacancies. We can change the number of Elevate staff that we use. Let's say we are fortunate to have candidates that are viable and are eligible to come and work with us, then we would work with Elevate to transition there. So let's see. Questions?
For Mrs. Stacy, this is for information, so no action is required. So, any questions?
The virtual teachers that are going to be having to teach some in person, they're getting paid for extra duties, I'm sure.
The virtual teachers? Well, what's happening, and correct me if I am wrong, it is because of their ADM, it's not additional.
I'll put this out. Last year, we agreed that if a grade span in the virtual academy did not have at least 10, that we would not entertain. And so in our K1, the K1 group in our virtual academy does not meet that threshold. So we have notified the parents that because of that it didn't make. And we notified parents up front that if we didn't have 10, we would do that. And so they're in the process of transitioning back to homeschools. And so we took the certified position that was available because they're K6. And so Mrs. Warren and Mr. Holmes and Ms. Reagan and Lori got together, and they looked, instead of us telling that teacher, we're sorry you didn't make, we were utilizing that teacher to cover our sections inside of the middle school for 6th grade, and then we will shift staff to cover other places. And then Elevate would do something similar to our Spanish, not Spanish, but yeah, well, it's one Spanish, but non-math, science, well, I don't know. But the Elevate will cover the high school, and was it 1 or 2 sections? Well, it was nothing in middle school. Northern middle math.
7th
So
grade math and 8th grade math.
we've been able to do that. We've also been looking at making sure that the allotted positions that we have provided to the schools meet the allotment that we would get from the state. And we do have a couple of schools where their allotments exceed what is available for what we should be doing for the state. And we have reached out to a couple of staff members through a survey, and they have agreed to do some transitions with the understanding that in next year, if their school that they're transitioning from has an opening, they would have first priority. And we did have 2 teachers that accepted that transfer to hard-filled positions at Oak Lane, or is it both at North?
At North.
At North. So staff has been very creative in trying to fill with face-to-face, not, we're trying to get away from North Carolina Virtual Public School. North Carolina Virtual Public School is more of a your own guide. At least in these particular models, especially with Elevate, they are synchronous and they're live. And so if a kid needs to ask a question, they can ask a question just like it would be if they were inside of a class. What the challenge for us is now we got to find folks to cover classes that we don't have, that even though they're in synchronous, we still got to have a body that supervises for safety. So we're in the process now trying to cover that. So we have a week. And they are working their you-know-whats off, and I appreciate all that HR and the schools are doing to do that. Did that answer your question? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've been so impressed too with the school administrators working together, and they have their flashcards and sections, and it's been fun. So any questions? Okay. Next is Participate Learning. Participate is who we work with for our dual language program. We also have 2 additional teachers that are not part of the dual language program that provide Spanish instruction at Person Early College as well as the 2 middle schools. The invoice that you received is for the program first, so the program cost, and then the next one you will see the staff and the cost for the staff. That is for all of their benefits, goes through Participate, covers that, and so we reimburse that. And just so you know, we still get allotments for these teachers as well. So those are those 2 invoices for Participate.
And that does cover the cost.
Yes, and yes. Yep, you get
So
one
it's
more.
a wash.
The contract is already in
It auto-renewed.
auto-renewed. There you go. And that will need
Approval.
approval.
Are there questions for Mrs. Stacy concerning Participate Learning invoice? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve the Participate Learning invoice as presented.
Move to approve Participate invoice as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Those by the same sign here, none. The participate learning resources invoice is approved. The Elevate contract.
So we touched a little bit on K-12, Elevate K-12 agreement. And what this is for the sections that, working with the administrators that are most needed right now to fill. The agreement does have a minimum and then a maximum. So if it comes to the point where we find that we still need other sections, that we are able to add if our budget does allow for that. What we do with the funding piece of it is that we work with our allotments that we're not actually having a teacher there, and for every 2 we get a half, because it doesn't cost, for every 4 we get 2 TAs, the cost of the 2 TAs, because we're not paying retirement, and so it's a little bit less. So we're working it if it is approved. So just FYI on the budget piece on that.
And this is something we discussed in another meeting by having someone in the room
Yes,
with them
ma'am.
to monitor. Okay.
And it is, easy is probably not the right word. It is, you have more candidates for a classified staff member than for the certified. So, because somebody had asked, so where are we gonna find the non-certified? You'll have applications for that.
And
so.
just to be clear, I waived the bus driving requirement because they would be covering sections inside of the school. So they wouldn't be able to they can't do both.
So you said this will be used for 7th and 8th grade math. Are there other courses that have an EOG or an EOC that this will be covering?
I know they looked at that. Let me tell you specifically what we have now, what we are looking at now if this is approved.
It was an English course.
Oh, y'all, no, you can't see me. I'm like, can y'all see what I'm doing? So, what this looks like is one section of economics and personal finance, two sections of math 2 honors, math 2 honors a person, English 1, the year-long course, a Spanish, the middle school at Northern 7th and 8th grade math, and then at the early college we have a math 1, it's math 2 and math 3.
Any other additional questions? All right, hearing none. At this time, we entertain a motion to approve the Elevate K-2 contract as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. The Elevate contract is approved. All right, the Curriculum Associates contract.
Good evening, board members. This is a contract for our just annual renewal for Curriculum Associates. Curriculum Associates provides all of our curriculum needs for kindergarten through 8th grade. And Curriculum Associates covers everything from professional development, teacher manuals, teacher toolbox, all student textbooks. They have online access to everything as well, quarterly benchmarks, personalized learning paths for each student, K-8, so it encompasses pretty much everything a teacher will need to teach ELA and math from kindergarten up to 8th grade. and we have used this curriculum for 5 years now. So the recommendation is to approve as presented.
So in that 5 years, what kind of feedback have you gotten from teachers? Because I know as a teacher, I like a lot about Curriculum Associates.
Yes.
And my kids, we're lucky enough to have kids who love learning. They even love taking tests, so they love it too. But I know that there are a lot of teachers who don't. And I know there are a lot of students who don't, especially the diagnostic.
Yes.
So I'm just curious, what kind of
we've
feedback
actually gotten a lot of positive feedback. Of course, anytime you implement a new curriculum in the first year, you have 50-50 teachers that love it and teachers that don't. One of the things that I think has been very promising for us is how well Curriculum Associates takes our feedback. So they survey teachers and we survey teachers every year. And I have witnessed and actually sat down with the data team at NCAT with Curriculum Associates, and they in real time have changed things based on our recommendations. So that has been just very impressive to me. That they actually listen to our teachers and get feedback and actually make changes. And our elementary schools every year meet and exceed growth. Our teachers are getting better and better and better at the curriculum the longer we use it. I think the biggest complaints of our teachers in Person County was they would use a curriculum for 2 to 3 years and we would switch. Mm-hmm. And they would use it for 2 to 3 years and we would switch. And they never could get good at it. There is no magical curriculum, because if it was, everyone in North Carolina would be using the same thing. I have a lot of confidence in Curriculum Associates that it is very well vetted and that it is definitely standards-based. And I think the longer we use it, the better teachers are going to get at it, and we're going to continue to see growth. And I think because we've been using it in elementary school longer than we've used it in middle school. We've only been using it in middle school for about 1.5 years. So I really, truly think once those teachers get very comfortable with the curriculum, we're going to see the same exact growth in middle school. I mean, I really do feel pretty confident in that. And I think that the good thing about Curriculum Associates curriculum is it is very scripted. And to be frank with you, we have so many teachers now that are lateral entry and beginning. They need something that is very easy to learn and that they can learn quickly and that they can follow very quickly, because our teachers don't have a lot of planning time. So that's my elevator speech.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. As a new teacher, it was very beneficial to have it in Durham. But I'm glad to hear that they take the constructive feedback. And
Absolutely.
One big piece of feedback that I would have is that I think they maybe should consider changing what the platform looks like from K2 to 3-5, maybe
Yes.
changing it dramatically, because I've noticed kids seem to get burnt out on
Yes,
it.
absolutely. So it was actually, I guess it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago, we actually took that recommendation to Curriculum Associates for middle school, because that was one of the reasons why we were not using it in middle school, because the platform looked exactly the same as it did in elementary school. Mm-hmm. So our team actually worked with their team to help them develop what the middle school platform would look like. So they actually changed the middle school platform before we started using it, which was really kind of
Mm-hmm.
cool, because we got to kind of pilot their brand new middle school platform. But we haven't made the suggestion for them to change 3-5, so that's a very good suggestion.
Yeah, like I said, as a teacher, I would love to see that.
Absolutely. I mean, I can definitely understand that, because after about 2 or 3 years, kids do get burned out on if the platform looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. And the other concern that I have is, I love seeing that data, but sometimes I kind of question the accuracy of it because of the length of time that it takes the diagnostic, especially for a child who's doing well on it.
Yes.
It just goes on and on. It might go for a couple days,
Yes.
So I don't know what they could do, to fix that, but I think that's another.
Yes,
bit of
absolutely. And we've had teachers say that before. One of the things that we've tried to do is really break the diagnostic up. So we tried to help teachers understand that they don't have to give it like all in one sitting session, because it can get very lengthy. So they can actually pause it and start it later in the day. They can start it another day. I know especially for our younger students, almost every one of our teachers do that. They do it over a whole week span, and they actually have a window of like 3 weeks that they can do it in. So it does give them some time to break up the length of it. But that is a good suggestion.
You don't want that kid who knows that, oh, this took me a couple days last year, or I'm gonna run through it this time. I know the stuff anyway. You don't want that to happen.
Yes.
But
And
they do correlation studies on
They do.
with our data and their end of grade data, and it
Yes.
corresponds very well.
And we participate in that every year just to make sure it is
Because I had
lining
the
up.
same concerns.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions concerning present learning? I hear none, entertain a motion for the approval of the present learning contract as presented. I'm sorry, curriculum associates. On that to the next one.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Hearing none, the curriculum associates contract is approved.
Thank you very much.
Now we can go to present learning contract.
In lieu of Ms. Reagan, we have our compliance officer here to
Okay.
do these two, since she facilitated these wonderful
Thank you.
documents.
So we have two contracts. The first is the Presence Learning contract, which is the teletherapy platform that we use for speech, language therapy for students. Last year it was North End and Woodland. We're looking at those same schools. There might be a little bit of an adjustment there. We're still working on caseload numbers. And this contract can vary a little bit because we have an assessment provision in there, and the amount of the assessment depends on the type of assessment that we would request them to do. So it should be somewhere between $90,000 and $100,000. And we are recommending approval.
Any questions concerning present learning contract? This time we entertain a motion for the approval of the present learning contract as presented.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none, the present learning contract is approved. Public Consulting Group.
Yes, so this is the PCG contract, which is the vendor that supplies ECATs for the state. We previously worked with them for EdPlan, and for the past couple of years since the state adopted ECATs, we've used PCG for our 504 data and documentation, along with, last year it was English language learning, or actually for the past 3 years. Also, we're not recommending that we continue with them for English language learners, because the staff is not a fan of that provision. But also for health services, so the nurses are able to use this as a way to digitally document health plans, screenings, medication, the kinds of things that they do. And then we also do all of the Medicaid programs are facilitated through PCG. So this particular contract came in at $91,000 last year. We paid PCG a percentage for the Medicaid programs. And so this one will fluctuate as well, and we're estimating it will be somewhere between $80,000 and possibly as high as $120,000, depending on Medicaid. But just keep in mind that if the Medicaid number goes up, it's because we're bringing more money in through Medicaid billing. So we are also recommending this particular contract for approval.
Are there any questions concerning the Public Consulting Group contract agreement? I hear none, entertain a motion for the approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Those by the same sign, hearing none, the contract is approved. Public Consulting Group. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, auxiliary services.
If it pleases the board, before we get into Woodland, can Mr. Clayton just give y'all an update on North End? I know a couple of you have asked, is it going to be ready?
I
So-
went by there Tuesday.
But as of this morning, I went by, and they're at least 90% asphalt paved. They have the concrete canopy walkway in the front, 3/4 of the way paved. They have a little bit more on that. The foyer in between the main building and the media center, That will be paved tomorrow. So it's coming along progressively now. It was a little slow, but now it's progressing pretty quickly. We have our fuel tank arrived today.
Yep.
And they're making several water line repairs and replacements as we speak today. And so it's going very well right now.
The canopy for the walkways on back order, so
Yep.
it's probably on a ship somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
Yep, we'll have the walkways done. It's just we'll be waiting on the canopy.
So it'll be usable. The queue will be usable for the first day of school.
Looks
I
like
want
it.
Mr. Clayton, no, I didn't go by there just to look. I had to cut through to get to 49. That's not.
Yeah, you better be careful going through there.
You're right. Well, they were
Good.
really working over there.
They're parked on both sides of the road.
They are.
Mhm.
Once the canopy comes in, how long will it take it to go up?
They could probably have all the canopy up in a week.
So
Because
during
they have pre-formed holes, and they just set the canopy in, epoxy it to the concrete, and move forward.
So during that time, though, it won't be usable though.
It'll be
What was up
usable.
there?
You just
Yeah.
the
We
rain.
won't have a cover
Yeah.
structure.
No, I mean when it's going up. When it's going up, you know when the canopy is going up.
Oh, well, I'm sure they'll do it. They'll do it. Let school go in, do a section that doesn't interfere.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just
They'll work
curious.
around school activity.
But just on all these projects, it's going to be important to understand that, we have a project timeline, so there would be some active things ongoing on site. But safety for students would be priority. And so wherever we can work, even during the school day, that doesn't adversely affect the day's learning, we'll do what we can to go ahead and get projects knocked out. The biggest one, and once we ever get our issuance through LGC, the high school is going to be another area that's going to be, unfortunately, a construction zone for a couple, probably 2 years.
Yeah, they're currently doing boring testing to see around the school now, just to prepare for that.
Somebody asked me last night if we were drilling for oil.
I see the truck over here.
That's what it looked like. And I said, well, if we find some, we're not going to tell
Tell
you.
you, that's right.
It honestly looked like they were getting ready to put a well in the front of the parking lot.
Yep. So they are drilling holes in parking lots. They're drilling holes around. I know there were tennis courts. They just got to have the board samples as part of the issuance that we have to present. So more to come on that next month. But thank you for giving that update.
Yes, sir. So tonight, I bring before you the Woodland chiller replacement. On the abstract, you see we have two attachments. The letter of recommendations from Smith Senate and the Woodland chiller contract. The purpose is to obtain the contract with the agreement with Comfort Mechanical Contractors for the chiller replacement at Woodland. The background of this unit is the same as the others. It's 20 years old and needs to be replaced. The financial impact is $237,948, and the staff, along with Smith Senate, is recommending that we approve this contract and move forward with the chiller. Any questions?
And this is a part of our ESSER funds, is that
Yes,
correct?
This is
That you allotted 6 point some odd million for HVAC upgrades, and this is part of that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have said that.
That's my question. Okay. Are there any additional questions, information needed? All right, hearing none. At the time, we entertain a motion to approve the Woodland chiller replacement contract as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by same sign. Hearing none, motion is approved. Contract is approved. All right.
Before I make a recommendation to go into closed session, Madam Chairman, we did put a flyer at your spot. Ms. Bradshaw and I met with the Home Builders Association in July, and just to talk about how we could better partner with that organization. One of the things that they asked to do and we encouraged them to do was come to see programming that we have at our high school. So we are going to have a program tour on August the 25th. If you're available, we'd love to have you. We're going to do a small lunch. And then once lunch is over, Ms. Bradsher and the staff is going to give our attendees a tour of the programming that we have available, and with the idea that we work with home builders to not only possibly get pre-apprenticeships approved through them, but so they can see what kind of candidates we have for employment. The other thing that we're asking them to do is we want to have, in the spring, a CTE competition, if you will, where we take a series of courses and we would have projects that kids would build or kids would work on, and then we would want the Home Builders Association to grade it out. And then it'd be like a on-site job interview, and with the hopes that they can find some people that they want to employ. And so if you want to be a part of that, I'm not asking you to require it, but because I know a lot of you are working, but those of you that have some time, I think it would be an awesome way to just come out and support Ms. Bradsher and what they're trying to do with continue to build our CTE program over at the high school.
And this is also saying there's the ribbon cutting for the.
Yes, there will be the ribbon cutting for the UNC school. Yes, ma'am. At this time, I recommend the board go into closed session to consult with our board attorney and to consider confidential personnel information and student information pursuant to general statute.
At this time, you entertain a motion for us to go into closed session.
Move to go to closed session.
Second?
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. We will go into closed session.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign, hearing none. Those consent items are approved.
And it's my understanding with us pulling the contract, then the second was moved.
Okay. So at this time, any announcements, anything? We entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. The First County Board of Education is adjourned.